Okay, welcome back, everybody. So we are on 7.5 capital plan discussion. So Charlie?
Liz, did you want to provide any comments on this before I explain the chart, or if not, I can go ahead.
No, the only comment would be people are hoping that this will work out, but you have all the information, so you go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, so trustees, I'll remind you that the capital plan is approved in March. So the idea here today is not to, kind of talk about the order of things. Long range planning asked me to provide this chart. You can see in the chart the 2020 ranking for submission to the province. What you may not notice on the first page is that there was no number 1. That's because it's on the second page. It's the Beaumont High School. So really numbers 2 through 6 were what the board submitted in the capital plan last year as modernizations. Of interest, again, last year, the board chose to submit Sacred Heart number 3 as partly a modernization, partly some high school space as a new build. So that is also on the second page. You see Sacred Heart listed a second time. So again, the board and long range planning has commented that they find that this kind of a framework lays out a good, kind of road for trustees to make decisions, and that it's based on the factual evidence, of the condition of each building, the enrollment pressures, and any health and safety pressures. So I guess what we talked about at long range planning was, is there anything that board members wish long range planning to work on? If not, we will just bring this back again in March for finalization and a formal ranking of the facilities. But we bring it to you kind of in advance as a preview and to see if there's anything that needs to be worked on.
Are there any comments or questions from anyone? Trustee Eflon?
I'm Chair, my comment is to leave it as is. I know we've been discussing this in the past since I've been on the board. To me, since last when we started making some of these decisions, a lot of factors were taken into consideration, and we have a roadmap, and nothing is moved on change on this. So I will hate to see us trying to rejig anything and leave it as is, as the guide moving forward into the following years. Thank you.
Anyone else?
What did you just say, Henry? I didn't understand what you were trying to say. My apologies. Can you repeat that?
Over the years, we've gone back and forth here and there. This template, this submission from last year, a lot of factors went into all of this determination. So I'm requesting, if you will all agree with me, we leave it as is with the way everything has been set to give us the roadmap as things are working out and we start taking it off one at a time. So I like the way things have been set, and let's leave it as is.
Okay, any other comments or feedback for long range planning? It is a much better process. The drivers are very helpful to determine the ranking. So thank you for that, for the document again, Charlie.
I do need to pass on the thanks to Ed and his team for populating the new numbers and keeping this information up to date.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Ed. It is very helpful. It definitely, as Trustee Eflon said, gives us the roadmap that we need to determine the, the real needs of the building, with the quantify the ranking, I guess. Okay, thank you very much. Uh, 7.6, Beaumont High School. And Charlie?
Okay, so maybe I'll kind of walk you through here. You heard Trustee Sirois in the Long Range Planning Committee update kind of speak to this a little bit and what the Long Range Planning Committee wants discussion about. But some of the feedback from parents, again, and you've heard Trustee Sirois ask the question in the past, is could a high school be housed at Mother Duville? So what I want to walk you through is some scenarios that looks at that and talk to you about what the implications are in those scenarios. So on the first page, what you'll see in chart 1 or table 1, the yellow is if we were to put a high school at Mother Duville in 21-22, so that's next school year. Obviously, that's moving very fast. What would that mean? So you can see that there are implications for the utilization as well as the enrollment is projected there. What I'll inform trustees or remind trustees of is 85% is considered full for a school. Once you get over 85%, you start using some of the common areas for classroom space. For example, the library or the Learning Commons now becomes a classroom. The chapel is no longer. Those are the kind of things we've seen in schools in the division when we do that. So in chart 1, if you were to keep the grade 10s at Mother Duville in 21-22, you can see that that puts Mother Duville at 86% right off the bat. The second year, it's 103%. There's not even any space. You may even have to start using spaces like the gymnasium for classroom space, or you have kids sitting on the counters, those kind of things. Obviously, that's less than desirable. And that's why administration has conveyed the message in the past that that's not really a possibility. You can see within 3 years, the school's at 116%. So by the time you get grade 12 in the Mother Duville, you're at 116% capacity. That would just be a nightmare. The parents and families would be screaming, you'd lose students. So that's table 1. I'll take you to the next page now, which the top of page 2 of that table is if we were to start the high school at Mother Duville in the year 22-23. Again, right out of the gate, you're at 92%. Again, lots of capacity issues with trying to have high school there. So what we kind of put together, and Ed worked a lot of magic on these charts, is in table 2A to say, okay, what if we put the 5s, so the grade 5s are currently at Mother Duville. What if we put them back to St. Andre? So we're going to have high school at Mother Duville, but we're going to move the grade 5s back to St. Andre. So in 2A, in the first table, if we started grade 10s at Mother Duville next year, that's why it's yellow in 21-22, you can see what that does. It bumps St. Andre up to 83%, so almost at full capacity right out of the gate. But it allows Mother Duville to stay at 73%. So that's doable. In year 2, in 22-23, in that scenario, you have 85, 86. So both schools are pretty full. However, in year 3, we have problems. We have St. Andre at 84, Mother Duville at 103. So now we're some serious issues. So we've got grade 12 now. Mother Duville is a 6-12. St. Andre is a K-5. It's doable, but now you're at 103%. You're not going to have happy people. I'm telling you that right now. In the second chart, you can see that if we start high school in 22-23, again, you can see the impacts there on the capacity. It's pretty much the same. It just delays it a year. I want to speak to this table and come back to this in a second, all right? So we'll come back to 2A in a second. But let's go to 2B. In 2B is if we make St. Andre a K-6 and Mother Duville a 7-12. you'll see in both of those charts right out of the gate, St. Andre is now right at capacity, 100% out of the gate. Not a good situation. It frees up space at Mother Duville to where they're, fluctuating between 55 and 96% throughout the course of that. So I don't think that's the scenario that the board would ever want to entertain, because you would have to then advocate for a new elementary school in Beaumont, because it's the elementary school that would be over capacity. Keep in mind that in whatever scenario that we're talking about here, Mother Duville is not a great high school facility. It doesn't have music space, drama space, those kind of things. It's not a high school. So I think that if you were to entertain housing high school at Mother Duville, it would have to be 2A. So I'll go back up to 2A, and if I'd ask you to do the same, please. It really is the only kind of scenario that works. I'm just gonna, before we get into further discussion about this, I'll tell you why we're partially entertaining this as long-range planning as well, is the government has told us they have no issue with Christ the King being the designated high school. They say 20 kilometers to go to high school, that shouldn't be a hindrance. If parents want Catholic education, they should go to Christ the King. That's what the province has told us. So as long as Christ the King has capacity, and the current situation where kids are just going to Beaumont Comp, the government will not give us a new school in Beaumont. They've told us that. So really, this would kind of serve a purpose of putting a little bit of pressure on the government, saying, yes, look, at families do want high school in Beaumont. They want Catholic education because they're supporting it within Mother Duville. So I'll go back to 2A, and I'll talk a little bit about something that's not represented in this chart. You can see, as I said, in the years 23, 24, or 24, 25, depending which box or table we're looking at in 2A, that we're at 100%. Mother Duville does have the capacity to add 6 portables to about 150 students, which would bring that capacity down to a doable amount. The unknown factor is the province may not give you portables. So it is an issue. And the other thing too that I will be upfront about is, trustees, you would have to shift the priority of portables from Sacred Heart to Mother Duville. You couldn't ask for portables at both places. The one thing that we do know is that once you get close to 100%, the province will look at portables more favorably. The enrollment at Sacred Heart is dropping. To the chart that we just looked at a second ago, they're at 81%. So the enrollment has actually dropped a little bit at Sacred Heart in the last couple of years. And we can talk about that if you'd like. But what I will say is, to Trustee Sirois' question earlier on in the meeting, is trustees have to have a discussion at this point. Do they want to take this to the school community, the parents and families in Beaumont? Because if the board were to entertain rolling grade 10 through to 12 at Mother Duville, there will be some growth and enrollment and space pressures at both schools. You'll have St. Andre at full capacity, 85%, and Mother Duville over capacity. Parents and families would need to be aware that there's no guarantees of portables. The government may say yes, they may say no. You may be well over 100% and nobody will be happy and everybody will be upset. However, if we were to get portables, it probably wouldn't be too bad. And we could continue to advocate for a high school. You'd have a much stronger case in the province's eyes. So I think it's now time to turn it over to you as trustees for a discussion on kind of whether you're willing to take that to the parents in Beaumont or to entertain that. Or if you think it's not a good idea and that it should just die right here at this meeting. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. So I'll open it up for trustees to discuss how to move forward. Comments, questions, considerations? Trustee Sirois?
Sure. Yes, I would definitely like to take this further and have the community consultation. It's evident that the people in Beaumont want the school. They want the Catholic education. And it would put more pressure on eventually for them to get the school. And if we're bursting at the seams, I'm sure we have a much better chance even of having portables. I think that we would be doing the community a service. I think that this is what they want. We're here to meet the needs of our people, and this is one way to attempt.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Comments? Trustee Tugwood?
I kind of agree with the 2A scenario. I realize that as we get up there, like into 2023, 24, where we're at 103, I guess it would be easier to get portables. There will be parent unrest and people won't be happy, but we do realize we lose students anyways to the comp. We lose a lot more if we don't go up. So yeah, I think I would be in favor. I think this is a good scenario and a good way to approach the government, saying we do need that high school.
Trustee Afon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe Mr. Bouchard did mention of some decrease of enrollments in Sacred Heart, and that was expected, and that again is due to the lack of high school or Catholic high school in Wetaskiwin. So that when the public reconfigured and moved their grade 9s into the high school, right, that became a continuum, and some few parents have chosen to do that. That being said, that's why when we're discussing how do we move forward to grow Sacred Heart, the portables and the vision of moving it into a high school became the option, because government doesn't have much money as expected, and Catholic parents in Wetaskiwin want exactly the same Catholic high school. Mm-hmm. But then it comes to a point when they have no choice and then go to the alternate. So the caution I will say, as we looked at all of these, we'll have a problem on our hands if we think in the future, should we be bursting at the seams in Beaumont? And Mr. Bouchard did mention that there's no guarantee for portables. However, if a portable is coming to a division and Sacred Heart already have been listed for portable in that regard, we will have a situation on our hands if we are to move that portable, because the intended purposes right now, and I believe I've stated that at this table, Sacred Heart of 100 years without a high school, and it's one of the founders of the division. It's one of the founders of the division and is the strongest founder of the division. How did we miss that? I have no idea, but I do know for now, when we're talking anything, and again, we have to be looking at the division wide and across the division. So that's all I can add to this conversation. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Trustee Afon. And you are right. Wetaskiwin has amazing Catholic education roots. And I was there when St. Joseph School, their junior high was, or when Sacred Heart was being rebuilt, and St. Joseph became part of Sacred Heart. Anyhow, it was really, really neat to understand the history of Catholic education in Wetaskiwin. So yeah, I think that would be the portables would, our advocacy for portables. We have two communities that want Catholic education, and Sacred Heart, definitely we've heard from the parents there as well, their advocacy for Catholic education at the high school level. So I guess the process that the option that we do have, I guess, do we want to propose this option to the parents in Beaumont? So that would be the first step. Because it definitely is a community consultation. That's how we did it the last time. And I mean, there are challenges to having a 6 to 12 school. I mean, we had a 7 to 12 school at Christ the King here, and students did tend to move after so many years. So there's, it's just the nature of having a school with that many grade levels. So I guess, so anyhow, how would the trustees like to proceed with the consultation process for Beaumont, or
Absolutely.
Charlie, go ahead.
So if I could just kind of maybe ask another question. It would be tough, I would say, administratively to bring a high school there for next year. That would be moving very fast. But I'm wondering, I have not, out of respect to the board and their process, had any discussion with the school administrators in that community.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a middle step? Because they will say, here are some considerations, that you need to keep in mind if you want to move in this direction. That doesn't have to happen first before the board makes a decision, but I just put it out there as a possibility. Would you like the administration of that community to weigh in on what that would look like to move to this 2A? And would the board request that information as part of their decision-making process?
Charlie, the NOLA, the school council chair, she has taken it upon herself to talk to Kurt and Jordan and Michelle and Angela. And she said that they were all in agreement with it, which I didn't know she even did that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they would be opposed, but
yeah,
there may be some considerations
Yeah.
that the board should consider. And again, it doesn't have to be as a first step. You could say here today, let's do a consultation with the community. But I think we would have to present not only these tables to them, but what it would mean for programming. So for example, there would be no drama programming.
Mm-hmm.
There might not be any drama program. Maybe there would be. There might not be any music programming. So as soon as you start taking away some of the programming options, this from Christ the King, you have families that say, I don't want a high school program like that. I want my kid to have, or my child to have, a broader programming experience. And they go to the comp in those kind of situations because they want automotives or auto body. Those are just examples. Welding. So I guess I'm just saying, like, part of the discussion with administration would be, here's what the programming would be. So it's fine that we might fit you in the building, but this is what the program would look like. You have to have buy-in from your parents, because if they just start abandoning ship and going to the comp, you will have even a weaker case with the province. Because right now you can say they're not going to Christ the King because it's too far. But now, if you're losing all the kids to the comp, you don't even have that as a, leg to stand on anymore.
Yeah, I think the more information that we had to present to parents to make a good informed decision is what, what we would want to do. Trustee Afon, did you have a comment?
Yes, and Mr. Bouchard is making a point, and I believe I made this point around this board table probably 4 or 5 years ago, when a gentleman had contacted me and he said, sometimes our Catholic high school suffers simply because we want to have a variety of programming. And then you have a meet of some parents who just wanted a high school which is academic focused, which is sometimes expensive to operate. Right. It's going to take some years to come, but you'll be operating at a better level. So I'm agreeing with what Mr. Bouchard is saying. You got to put everything on the table for parents to know.
Mhm.
This is the focus that this school is going to be. It's not going to go with everything as a normal, traditional high school. So if you want some of those experiences, let's talk about it now and then move forward. But if you think some of these experiences doesn't matter and we are in the education business, and to supplement with some of all of these, but here is what we can afford to offer right now. And the future will tell if we are able to open up or support with all of this programming. So like you said, we don't have the drama stage and the drama, all of these options won't be appropriate at St. A. Andre, right? So we have our limitations. So I'm agreeing with what Charlie is saying. We got to put all of this on the table for parents to do understand.
Yes, Henry, I understand, Henry, what you're saying. And I think that the people would be made aware that we may not have music or drama right off the bat. We're not going to try and pull the wool over their eyes. They will be well aware that we're trying to do this to please them, to support the community. So not everything will be available right away. And I think that comes with, they'll know that. I think the first step is that we consult the community, see what the results are.
So I think getting advice from admin in Beaumont, though, would be important so that we have that piece to lay out for parents in the consultation process. So I would also be in agreement with Charlie about consulting admin because they see it through, an operations kind of set of eyes about the level of programming that they see that they could be able to provide. So
It would also be,
Charlie, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say, it would also be Principal Kurt Barron saying, if you put us at 85%, here's what it means for our school.
Yeah, and understanding the pressures of a school that's full, right? Like making sure that we were able to communicate that to parents too. What does that mean when a school is full, and what will be sacrificed because it is over capacity? So I think just the advice from admin would be very important to be able to pass on to parents in the consultation process. So Trustee Tugwood, did you have a comment?
No, I was just thinking about all of it. We have to have the parent consultation. I was thinking of myself as a parent when my son was going into grade 7 to 12 school. I was not happy, but I didn't have a choice. He was young. I felt that to be into a school with high school there. So there may be some parents that don't want that.
Yeah, there will be parents that don't see it as like everybody has different ideas of what they see best for their child, for sure. So just in a matter of process, it sounds like there is, we do like the idea of being able to look at Mother DeVille as providing a Catholic high school education. We do think that consultation to the parents is very important. And I have heard from a couple, Trustee F1 and myself, we do feel like we should be in touch with admin in that community to get their feedback and what they see being able to provide for, or what the limitations would be, or what the additional things would be to doing a reconfiguration. Trustee Spidich, did you have a comment at all?
Yeah, I was just curious, how many portables are currently at Mother DeVille?
None.
None. Okay.
But
Thank you.
again, that is a consideration. And as a board, we have committed to supporting Sacred Heart with portables. So that's already on our as a priority for Sacred Heart. So I don't think we can look at the portable situation yet. I think right now we're at the stage, consult or get some insight from admin in Beaumont, and then look at what a consultation would look like in Beaumont. Trustee Tugwood?
I was also wondering about a community as far as growth, just within the community. I think Beaumont has been growing. I think it has, but I'm not sure about Wetaskiwin.
Well, Beaumont has.
Information
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah, Beaumont has. But again, like our mission is to provide Catholic education, right? So we do have 2 communities that are seeking education for their high school children. So we are trying our best to respond to those communities. So yes, Wetaskiwin doesn't have the growth rate that Beaumont does. We've seen, different figures on that. And actually, I don't know what Beaumont is actually, if it's changed. I mean, with the economic situation in Alberta, I'm not sure how numbers have changed or if we're seeing it change at all yet. I don't know, but we always rely on that data as one of our drivers as well, to be able to provide the appropriate education in our communities. So Charlie?
So I think I'm hearing that people think it is good to speak with the administration. So to do a community consultation in a time of COVID has implications. I think everyone would agree with that. So I guess I'm just going to put out some different ideas just for further discussion here. So knowing that consultation in COVID looks different, when might we have these consultations? What would they look like? If we need to speak with admin, we need to have consultations with their parents. You wouldn't be able to just have one consultation session. It has to have a repeated cycle if you're going to do it well. We're already approaching March. I don't know that we could get a high school set up there for next year, realistically, to do all of this properly. So then I wonder if the target, if the community says they're in support, if the target is for the 22-23 year, is it better to have the consultation in the fall when you can have people come into the building, you can put up charts, those trustees who are part of those reconfigurations, you'll know what I'm speaking to. You can have people actually present, you can give them coffee, it's a different feel. Are you better to wait until the fall for that consultation if we're not looking at high school till 22-23? It's something else to think about and talk about. I put that out there for consideration.
Well, Charlie, we don't know if in the fall we will be in person even. I would like to see us start the consultation and, the first step. And as you say, it's going to be ongoing, but at least start it. And also the admin, well, if you're talking like the 4 principals, it is going to be more work for them, right? So hopefully they're not going to say, well, it's going to be so much work, and it will be more work for them, but that's part of the process, right? That's why I wondered if we should start the community consultation first. And like you said, the admin, it doesn't have to be the first part. Community consultation could be the first part.
Trustee Afon?
Madam Chair, my guidance will be, when you want to do something, you want to do it right, you need time. 21-22 isn't looking great. So if we'll plan days to move it forward, 22-23, it's much more visible, gives admin enough time to plan this thoughtfully with trustees and execute it very well. But if we rush it, the fall will be upon us, and this is also an election year. So we should be mindful of these caveats. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it has to be 2021 either, Henry. But the fall, it would be very busy time, period. I just think it's good to start the process, that's all. With the
Trustee
community.
Spitich, do you have a comment? Sorry. Oh, sorry, trustee F1, go ahead.
And that I agree, right? Yeah, the process, I agree. Should be
Mhm.
started, but we should have a foreseeable date as to what we are looking at.
Mhm.
So the process isn't rushed. That's all I'm saying. That's why the
Yeah.
22, 23 is much visible, gives enough time, and do all of this consultation and work towards that date. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, trustee Spitich, did you have a comment?
Just that I would agree with Trustee F1 there, that
Mhm.
we don't want to rush things. You know what happens when we do that. So we'll make sure we do this very thoughtful and very deliberate.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Tugwood, did you have a comment?
Well, I think maybe we could, I know you said start with the community consultation, but we could talk to admin this spring, late this spring, and plan for a community consultation after the election, which is still in October. And hopefully we can do it in person, which is a far better way to do it. Hopefully the vaccine rollout and everything, maybe my hope is that things will be a bit better in the fall. And then the next year that we'd be looking at doing the change, 22, 23. Hopefully we won't have the pandemic.
Okay, so I will just give my feedback. I was part of the consultation last time in Beaumont, and I would have to say the in-person experience was much better. And yes, Beaumont parents were very much engaged in coming out to that consultation. The turnout was great. And you could be, very friendly, serve coffee to the parents. They were very social. They were very concerned about, what their schedule would look like, or where their kids would go to school, or how it would affect them. And they had very good input and thought on what the process would look like. So when I went through that process, I very much valued that parent feedback. It was very helpful, and the in-person consultation was excellent. So I definitely would be in favor of that. So what I'm hearing is that yes, the admin insight is important. The parent consultation for next year, 21-22, would be something that we could manage, and potentially looking for high school starting 22-23. So does that sound like our conversation?
Mhm.
A timeline? Okay, does that give you enough information, Charlie?
I think so. I just want to recap that then. So I'll speak with administration.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing that the goal is to have the community consultation in the fall.
I
Correct?
don't think it has to be. I think we need to, we can revisit that, because it might be hard to do right after the election.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on for new trustees in the fall.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I heard you say that you were speaking in favor of an in-person consultation.
Yes. Yeah. But it could be next year at some point. And I think that can be revisited after we hear back from admin, or we can think about it. We can think about what community consultation looks like, what time of year next year.
You mean next year as in 2022?
21-22, yeah. The election is October 21st. I don't know if we could have a community consultation before that. I don't know. I just think it,
Well, couldn't we have a consultation survey? Because we don't even know if we can be in person in the fall, right?
well, our chances are better than this year. You know, our chances of having in-person consultation are better.
All I'm saying is, I think it would be good to get the word out to the people via survey and start the process instead of waiting till who knows when in October next year. Like you said, October is a busy year. Would there be a problem with starting the survey after you talk to admin? You want to talk to admin first, you said, Charlie.
Yeah, the issue with a survey, Trustee Sirois, is that this is the kind of issue, and I'll call it an issue because it needs to be managed properly.
Right.
The issue is if you don't explain all the components, people do not have the right information to make a decision. So I'll give you the example. People could say, yeah, let's do it. But then when the school's at 100%, they say, you didn't tell us that this is what we were signing up for. Or what if everybody says, no, we don't want to go into a full high school, but you didn't get a chance to explain all the pieces about programming or portables. Like it's a pretty complicated and complex issue.
Mhm.
And that's the reason why I think you need to have, a face-to-face. Now, that lends to the two options. It's either a Zoom meeting or it's in person. The issue with a Zoom meeting is we have over 700 families in that community, right? Well, or 700 students who have, we know there's multiple kids in some. That's a lot of people. How many people? You can't just say we're going to have 300 in a Zoom meeting, and then give people a chance to ask questions. It just will not work. You'd have to have multiple sessions of Zoom. So
Yeah,
that's
and
the
what
problem with
happens-
just doing a survey without giving, proper background.
Yeah, you really need the discussion, and then parents talk to each other. I mean, I'm just explaining what I experienced, right? Like there was a group of parents that they would talk over a chart and they had questions amongst each other, and then they had questions for a presenter. And so it was a very engaging process. And I would highly recommend that we do the same because it was so successful. Just to survey without bringing context to the questions, it really wouldn't serve the parents and the students in the best way. That's my experience anyhow. Trustee
Michelle,
Afon, did you have a
that is-
comment?
That is very much true. When we did both consultations in Beaumont there, it was a whole evening affair. People grabbed coffee, they sat, talked to each other. Parents that have communicated over when they came there, the scenarios have changed and was thoughtfully explained. And guess what? Their thoughts and this thing changed, and they were putting in stickers where they thought whatever they heard was explained properly. So it's a thoughtful process. And if we want to do this, we must as well do it right. That's why when those two schools were built there, we didn't have much of any issues because parents knew very well right from the get-go, this is the plan. When the second school was coming, we're going to refigure, and this is the way it's going to look like. And they stayed with us. Thank you.
Okay, so just to recap. So we agreed with Charlie, going to admin in Beaumont, looking at the scenario, getting their feedback or their insights on what this reconfiguration could potentially look like. And then again, I think it is in our best interest that we go with an in-person community consultation at a time that is good in next year, 21, 22. But we can't pick that date right now. Maybe we could revisit that, what that time looks like, maybe in May or June. It could go on the action sheet to bring back.
Okay,
Okay. Charlie?
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering if it's better in August. I'll tell you why. Nothing's going to change with COVID in the next month or two
Mhm.
to the point where we can get together in person. So at that point, the consultation we're not going to start a community consultation in June.
No.
So I'm wondering if it's best left, maybe we could bring a proposed timeline in May or June with the understanding that it's not going to happen this year. Is it best to do that in May and June or August? I guess I'm asking.
You mean bring it back in August?
Well, set the dates for the consultation as an example.
Yeah,
The pro-
we might
the
have
pro-
better information at that time about what the future looks like for in-person events.
I would love to see, Madam Chair, I would love to see the proposed timelines, May, June.
Yeah.
Right, because we take the August break,
right.
right, July, August there. So then when we come back in the fall, in August, whatever is changed, we can make adjustments and then finalize it before the election and then have that template waiting after the election for the new board to follow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you.
Donna, you're in agreement?
Yeah, I agree. We can start
Okay.
it in June and then finalize it in August when we'll know more. Yep. I agree
Okay.
with you.
Dan, you're in agreement?
Yep,
Okay.
that sounds good.
So Charlie, just to be clear, so the next step then is you're going to speak to admin. And then what? So at the next board meeting, will we have the results of how admin feels?
So what I've captured in the action sheet is to speak with the administration about the implications of a reconfiguration in high school, bring the feedback and a proposed timeline for a community consultation at the June board meeting. That's what I have. The board could choose to review the administrator feedback sooner. I
Okay,
just wonder what purpose that would serve to have it at the discussion twice.
well, I would just want to see if they're in full agreement with it, that's all.
It's as you wish. I mean, they're not going to speak against it, Liz, I can tell you,
Okay, okay,
but they're going to they'll be real about the implications, but they're not going to say, absolutely, we don't think it's a good idea.
okay,
That's not what they would do.
right.
No, we're asking for their insight on what that,
The implications.
Right.
the implications would be for their school and for their community and that sort of thing. So, okay, so are we good now?
We're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 7.7, so municipality meetings. So we still have this outstanding item with the city of Beaumont. And Charlie, you were going to speak to this?
So kind of knowing, and Ed can jump in at any point, but when we submit a capital plan, they want to know, attached to that Beaumont High School, when we put that in, they want to know that there's a site. But we know the city of Beaumont doesn't have any sites. So we've been informed by Alberta Ed that they'll accept a letter to say that, for example, should a school be awarded, they'll develop a site. Question is, do you want administration to ask their administration for that letter? Or do you think that there needs to be a meeting? Ed, did I miss anything?
What do you think is the better route?
Ed, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know if there's a better route. I'm still waiting to see if I can get a copy of what one of those letters looks like. Alberta Education's promised to send me a sample letter because then I think would outline for the city of Beaumont what exactly they're committing to. And it's not only services, it's also timelines.
Mhm.
And then it might beg the discussion, administratively to say, okay, this is the type of letter we need to move this forward in terms of part of our planning and part of our proposals to Alberta Education. Are you comfortable with this timeline? Right now, when I'm thinking about the one subdivision that's going into on the northeast side, there is a large site that's set up for a high school, but it's in a final phase of development. Would they administratively, would they support and, accelerating services to that site as part of the proposal for a new high school going into Beaumont?
Mhm.
And it's out of cycle for the developer, but some kind of arrangement, and it might be attractive for the developer to have the school already going into their subdivision. So that's where I'm at. I think it kind of depends on what the contents of the letter are. You might want to broach it politically, but I'm not sure if, again, they're heading into elections as well. If it's a subject that they will deal with politically in the near future, or whether it's better administratively to make administration aware of what the contents need to be, and then they can advise their elected officials kind of what the options look like in their context, and our trustees can also discuss it with their elected officials, saying, what are the impediments to this? Is it still that you're waiting on a developer, or is there a way to move this forward beyond the developer?
Mhm.
I don't know, Charlie, I don't know if that's kind of what you were looking for.
Well, Madam Chair, might I suggest that we reach out to their administration as a first step and get their thoughts on a letter, and go from there and bring it back to the next board meeting as an update?
Okay, that sounds good. I just find it's just confusing what to do with the city of Beaumont.
Well, in
know.
retrospect, and where we started the conversation with Alberta Education, is that the city of Beaumont tells us, have you been approved by a school? Because then we'll have a site ready for you. Alberta
Yeah.
Education says, do you have a site ready? Because we'll approve a school once you have a site. So we get chicken and egg, and I'm trying to stop it.
Yeah.
And somebody hand us a chicken or somebody hand us an egg. This is the way we're, and in consultation with Alberta Education, this is the one where it kind of, well, you don't have a site, but can you sign a commitment letter? So then now it is firmly in their purview to say what their circumstances are. And, for us to go back to education, they're going to be looking for one of those two circumstances from the city of Beaumont to support us. So I think that's where our goal was administratively, was to stop it from being confusing and have something definite that we can move forward with for the community and for moving this project and this goal forward.
And Madam Chair, a little history for all of you, and that was exactly, and the city of, just like Mr. Laka had explained before, the proposed city of Leduc they know the size that is being or will be their next phases of development. So they are planning ahead and designating school sites into those. And the little history here is, for the Leduc, when we got 24-hour notice of that school being approved, it wasn't an issue of, do you have a land ready or no. It was phone calls, and that site was already ready. Right? Same when it was happening in Beaumont, that was where we had a little bit of issues here and there, and Beaumont has always been that type of issue. They never do have a land ready, but they know the development that is happening there and have never worked with the board. I remember we've had a couple of meetings with them on the golf course just to talk about these between us and Black Gold. But here we are still, we don't understand why when you're planning your subdivision, make those allocations and then Because government is beginning to, are you shovel ready? That was the question and the language at the time, right? Is your site shovel ready?
Mhm.
They will ask this question every time, every day, because they don't have time to be waiting, right? Here is the money, here is what is coming, go do it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Brad mentioned you want a letter. So you've already talked to him, Shirley, so they're aware that we're going to be asking for the letter or giving them a letter, remember? Brad mentioned that at the MLA meeting.
Yeah, we definitely heard, we know that our MLA is advocating for a high school in Beaumont. So definitely, and I think I mean, he's also the one that said that land is available, you know, so there is land, and maybe it's just, it's the whole, it's just a process. It's not working very well. But yeah, I think if admin went back to Beaumont and just got details and then bring it back, and then we'll see what the next step is. Okay. Okay, so Youth Minister Initiative 7.8. So I'll give that over to Charlie as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustees, you'll recall that it was a while back that we had a division youth minister. It was an initiative that was a pilot as directed by the Board of Trustees. We had feedback from the schools that was not a viable model because one person running around the division didn't really it was tough to build relationships and to really serve that initiative well. So that led to the 7 to 12 schools having a partial FTE assigned to a youth minister. So somebody on staff was given about 0.1 of their assignment to be a youth minister in schools, again, that had grades 7 to 12. Feedback from the schools is that, you know, it's not a great model. So if you think about a teacher's timetable, you know, where they have an hour or an hour and a half once a week, you know, to be the youth minister, that's tough, again, to do that work well. So I'm letting you know from an administration side of things that that model's not great. And I'd like to propose a change of plans. And I know it is a sensitive area to the trustees because it is a bit of a legacy project. But what I would offer as an alternative would be to take that same amount of money and maybe even just a little bit more and assign it to the school's religious education coordinator to free them up to be more strategic to support the board goals and priorities in the education plan. So right now in the education plan, youth ministry is not a kind of a focus. When I look at the education plan, and you'll hear me speak about this, and you'll hear when we talk about it in the community consultation here shortly, that there are areas for improvement in the area of faith. Specifically, as an example, teachers witnessing to students. Well, if I look at that as being the biggest area for growth as a division, the youth minister is not in that envelope. They're not spending time with teachers in that area. The religious education coordinator is, but right now that's a volunteer position, so to speak. So I would like to propose and get the trustees' blessing to kind of move in a different direction in this area. Instead of youth ministry with that kind of 0.1 FTE, allocate those resources to the religious education coordinator who could focus more and be more aligned with the division's education plan and the targeted areas within it.
Sorry, comments about the recommendation from Charlie? Trustee Efron?
Oh, Mr. Bouchard, help me understand. The religious coordinators right now, do we have them in every school?
Yes. Sorry, and thank you, Trustee Efron. That is the other point. There are many schools in the division not served by the current initiative. This would have every school served.
Okay. And they are serving right now in the capacity of volunteering.
Yes.
Is that what I was hearing? So if we do allocate that 0.1, do you think that is enough to support teachers and students? Because like you said, right now the youth ministry 0.1 isn't supporting teachers. But if that is allocated to the coordinator, are they able to support both teachers and students?
Well, by way of serving teachers, I think we would be meeting that outcome in the education plan where teachers could be better witnesses. But it won't be the same work, like the religious education coordinator won't be serving as a youth minister. It would be a change in focus. Whether it's enough FTE or not, I don't know. We would have to see, but right now that person is volunteering and there's no FTE.
Okay, so then to that regard, then how would they be serving students?
Well, again, I think we need to align the work of the division, the resources, the financial resources, the division with the education plan. So the religious education coordinator, along with Claire, should be focusing to drive the goals and priorities in the education plan. I wouldn't say that youth ministers serving it's outside of the education plan. It's not connected right now. If the division had a board priority or a goal around youth ministry, that would be different. That is not in the education plan.
Yeah, but it's a spiritual support that we've always pushed for, that students are connecting, right, with somebody in a building to support them in that journey. And that was what the idea of the youth ministry have always been, right? Has always been. So what I'm asking is, then if we move to this model, is this coordinator will be available to support students as well when the need arises or when a student is in need? Because I don't want us move to this and then it happens a student need a spiritual support, right, in the building at a certain point. Oh, I'm not a youth minister, right? I'm not in that capacity. I'm the religious coordinator. So I wouldn't have time for that. I don't know. It's just a question that I would hate to see a student in need as a Catholic school and not having anybody available.
Okay, I think that kind of line of thinking is probably why we're in a position where the program's not working. What I hear you speaking to is a chaplain. These youth ministers are not chaplains. So I would say, like, who's going to serve our students? Our teachers serve our students. We have counselors in our schools that those students go to when they struggle with issues, all kinds of issues.
Mm-hmm. They're
not going to the youth minister. So I think what you're speaking to is more of a chaplain model. That's not what we have.
I know, Mr. Bouchard, we've because I've been around and we've had this debate into the chaplain model. We've toyed around with several different models and we landed on the youth ministry in that 0.1, knowing or hoping, right, that they are helping coordinate some of these. Like you said, if a student saw a counselor and probably the counselor would say, you know what, this is more of something that, again, a youth minister could be drawing to help. Like so much is going on within my head, right? So much is going on. But again, I'll leave the floor to someone else to bring in their thoughts.
Okay, other trustees? Trustee Serwa?
So is there a religious coordinator in every school who is a volunteer presently?
Yes.
And what is their role?
They support staff and students in the faith formation goals of the division.
But if they're a volunteer, I thought volunteers weren't even allowed in the school now.
Well, they're staff members.
Yeah, they're staff members that volunteer for the position, and they get all their resources from Claire for their school.
Correct. Yep, they have regular meetings with Claire, and they're the people that help teachers with planning celebrations, retreats, masses, the promotion of the liturgical seasons, all of that. That's what those people do right now. They just don't have any time to do it. It's a volunteer position.
So they would now be getting paid if we change it.
They would get time.
Oh,
Yeah, they would get the time, the FTE that they need for
Oh.
planning. Trustee Tugwood?
So they would get the time, which is great. So this money that's going to be allocated to them, that's allocated for to pay them for their time, or is that for something separate for purchase of books, or I don't know, whatever else that they decide is needed? Or is it like a division where they get both?
No.
So we would, if they were at point one, they would have part of their teaching assignment removed to free them up to be, to focus on those priorities.
Okay, that's a good idea. I think I like it.
Okay, Trustee Spitich, would you like to weigh in? Trustee Sirwa, any other comments?
well, I'm not sure what to say, but I understand what you're saying about the youth worker, or however you call that, going from school to school and not being really that effective. I could understand that. If it's not effective, why continue? But we would want to make sure that the money's going toward the schools to help the students.
Trustee Tugwood?
Would this mean that now every school would have some allocation for this, not just schools that have 7 to 12 in them?
Correct.
So I think that's good. Yeah.
It kind of follows what we've been saying about, think of the division as a whole, right? One of those principles that we've been thinking about as well. This has been a topic, and as Charlie said, it's kind of a, it was an initiative that just kind of happened out of the blue and all with good intention. But, some of the, we have gotten repeated feedback that it's not as effective as, as we would like it. Or as it's not showing the fruits, I guess, of the position. So I see it as a positive move to move it into something more purposeful for those, and then each school is getting an allocation of that fund. So I can support that for sure. Sorry, is there? So I heard support from Donna, support from Liz, and Trustee Eflon. You were concerned about, the lack, if that takes away something from students. And Trustee Spitich, did you have a comment about whether you support the change in allocation?
Yeah, I support it. It's a lot of information to digest right now.
Okay. So Charlie, do you feel like you have enough support to change that up? That's what I'm hearing from trustees, that we're supporting the recommendation from Charlie. And just, the comment, you've heard the comments back from Trustee Eflon, just reassuring that our students do have the support that they need, the spiritual support in each of their schools that this position may have helped with. Any other comments, or do you feel like you have enough to go ahead?
I do.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Okay, 7.9, First Nation trustee representation. so we have been working on this and researching it. And at our last meeting, we asked for a letter to be sent to Brian Wildcat at Maskawatchie's and just getting his feedback on potential next steps. So I think, Charlie, you have some follow-up for us?
Madam Chair, I don't think it was a letter. It's to
Oh,
contact him.
just a
to
phone
get-
call. Sorry.
Yeah,
A phone
to
call. Yeah.
contact him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did reach out to Brian Wildcat, and I thank Trustee Effon's suggestion that I do so. It was a very productive conversation. In speaking with Brian, he mentioned that the Maskwacis Educational Schools Commission, MESC, they have a board, and all 4 chiefs sit on that board. So what Brian said is our board chair should write a letter to their board chair, and her name is Shauna Bruno. She would get the letter to the chiefs. The chiefs usually have a short sit down after their board meeting. Brian said, if we try to send a letter to each of the chiefs and coordinate something, we'll be playing back and forth for months and months. So if we were to send a letter from our chair to their chair, they would get it to the chiefs in short order. But our letter should basically state what our request is. I'll remind trustees at the last meeting, our kind of desire, from what I heard from trustees, was to have kind of a committee of parents that would meet with the trustees, you know, on a you know, whatever timeline is suggested. Brian said, yeah, go ahead and send that. However, I am letting you know that the chiefs likely will say they want a trustee, an appointed trustee on the Star Catholic School Board. He said, I'm giving you heads up. You'll likely hear that. He said, do not send it anytime soon. We're swamped with COVID and reopening our schools. So his suggestion was wait until March and send the letter at that point. So that is the follow-up information that I'm bringing back and just confirming the direction moving forward.
Okay, so right now there's no action. We have something to think about, and it'll be brought back to the March meeting. Correct, Charlie? That's all you need right now.
No, that's not what I'm suggesting.
No?
I'm suggesting that we send a letter in March.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
don't bring
But
it
if
back
you
in
guys-
March.
Yeah, because there's no really further discussion unless you want to change your course of action and not ask for a committee and ask for a trustee.
Okay.
So I just want to confirm, what is the board desirous of?
Okay, trustee
And that is
Efron?
the
Go
the question, that what do we desire? Because we have to know what we're looking for. And like what's his name is being very candidly told Charlie, the chiefs, they always will desire a trustee.
Mhm.
And a bit of history and information, Dr. Bruno was the trustee that was appointed for Wetaskiwin Public before she moved into that role 2 years ago. And then they appointed the ex-chief from Ermenskin onto the board there. So they've always have like a full trustee, right? And I believe, Charlie, earlier you had stated again that they didn't like the model with Wolf Creek, right? Because they would prefer a full. So for our consideration, we need to discuss and have a plan. Thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to have that discussion right now?
Or do we, sorry, Madam Chair,
Yeah.
or do you want to put it on the March schedule and have a good discussion looking at the time? It's almost 3:30 here.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that
Okay.
I think we need to think about this. And the trustee position, I can't see them wanting anything less either. I mean, they want their voice to government, and that is, you know, that's the best for them. So we have to think about that and I guess have that discussion at the next board meeting. Is everybody okay with that? Trustee Tugwood?
So are you saying to wait about this letter to their board? And we need to decide if that's what they're going to want. We need to decide if that's what we can offer.
If we can
So-
offer that, yeah.
Yeah, so we need to
So
wait.
the implications, I guess we want to make sure that there'll be some background information on the implications of that.
Because there will be implications.
Charlie?
So again, Madam Chair, that the whole package was there as a backgrounder for trustees the last time we had the discussion. So I
Yes,
think
that's right. Yeah,
it would be revisiting that package
Yeah.
again. We
Yeah.
could even include it in the board package if that's
Yeah.
the desire. Just let me
Yeah.
know.
okay, so it'll come back to the March meeting for another discussion and how to move forward. Uh, 7.10, community consultation. So our community consultation is next week, February 25th. It's also exactly the same time and date as the budget announcement. So it's unfortunate, but I did reach out to ASBA because they are hosting a Q&A and kind of a Zoom meeting with the budget announcement, and superintendents and board chairs are invited to be on the call. And I did reach out to ASBA to see if there would be some kind of recording of the event, but unfortunately it can't be recorded because it'll get misused. So the event will not be recorded for us to view later. The ASBA will have a summary that they'll put out right after the budget announcement. So, Charlie, if you want to go through the community consultation, then maybe we can discuss if there is one trustee that can attend, or the board chair attends the ASBA Zoom meeting, and yeah, what we can do.
Okay, I will just inform trustees that Vivian Aboud has just sent an email about 20 minutes ago, basically saying that there will be a follow-up with the senior administration on the details of that budget, so it might not be so critical that we attend that. I am worried, quite honestly, in a 2-hour consultation, if people duck out for 20, 25 minutes, that's not going to be great. You will be, all of us, whoever is out, it will be missed. All senior administration are facilitating breakout rooms, and we have tried to put trustees, or we will be putting trustees in breakout rooms. So it is a bit of a conundrum, absolutely. Regarding the consultation, again, the format is pretty much laid out. Again, there'll be a session on faith and a desire to seek feedback from stakeholders on our current strategies. And then the second part on mental health. Are there any trustees who will not be at the consultation? I guess I just need to clarify that.
Trustee
Just-
Tucker?
I just got a phone call that my eye appointment, which was scheduled for Tuesday, the 23rd, the doctor won't be in, so he's had to reschedule. The best they could do is, guess what, Thursday, the 25th. But I took the first one in the morning at 8:20. So I hope I can be back from Calgary. Barring any complications, I should be there.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, I'll be there. Trustee Afon, you'll be there? Okay, Trustee Svidich, will you be there? Okay.
All right, so I will let you know. I'm going to ask Caitlin to kind of give a little update on the attendees. However, I will let you know that we're really struggling with the parish component and some school council people. So Caitlin, do you want to give us a little bit of an update on the attendees, please?
Sure. So Kim and I have been working together to get these attendees together. So far, we only have a parish rep from Lacombe. And we are also missing school council reps at all the schools in Leduc, at HTA, Sacred Heart, and Father Lacombe. But Maria has reached out to Ruben, so I'm assuming that he will be attending. So I think we have all the staff and students attendees confirmed. Those were all done really quickly. So it is just a struggle trying to get those parish reps and some of the school council reps.
Okay. Caitlin, what are we missing from Sacred Heart?
We are
That is
missing
school council
school council and a parish rep.
and parish rep. Okay.
Okay, so local trustees, you can try follow up with your community, but it sounds like it's Leduc schools and our parish
Yes.
and HTA.
Yeah.
I can follow up with them.
And Caitlin, you just wanted one parish rep? Is that correct?
Yeah, we do have a parish rep for Lacombe. Maria actually volunteered one for us already.
She
so-
volunteered someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Elaine.
I know a lot
Donna.
of people. I could have got somebody.
Yeah, Elaine on staff will be serving as the rep.
What about Beaumont, Caitlin?
Beaumont, I think we're doing pretty good. We're just missing a parish rep in Beaumont.
I can ask somebody.
That would be great. Yeah.
And who are you, Caitlin, sorry, Henry again.
That's okay.
Who are you communicating with at Sacred Heart? Is that Father Roger or the secretaries? Or Maria?
Kim, I think we were reaching out to the secretaries, right, at the churches? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will try to reach out in my community as well. And I guess we need to decide, you know, in regards to the budget, do we want the board chair, or the superintendent to attend? Charlie?
I just don't think that I can attend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running the consultation for me to duck out. I'm facilitating a group. We're trying to have smaller groups. If I'm out, we're gonna have to have a large, like we're gonna have to combine groups.
Yeah. And you need me for a facilitator as well, right?
No, trustees are not facilitating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I guess by Vivian's email, I'm encouraged that administration will be, you know, Albert Ed will follow up with us. So I'm not as worried about us, but.
Yeah. They have been great about their recap and their information, you know, afterwards, like right away. So I guess I'm comfortable just waiting for the recap. I mean, what's going to change? Nothing is going to change. I mean, we're going to get the budget and it's going to be what it's going to be, right? So
I was just gonna say that, Michelle. And so are you telling me they've moved away from the traditional embargo with board chairs for the heads up?
well, if there is one, we might only know that day. That might be like a last minute thing, and then yes, that'll be great because that'll be beforehand.
And
Yeah.
those are normally in the mornings. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get that info as well.
Can I ask what time is the budget meeting? Is that earlier in the day?
No, 3:15.
Okay.
3:15 is the budget on the floor and
Yeah.
the meeting is at 4:45, I believe.
So it will be televised, the on the floor in the legislature? Are they gonna be doing that at all? No, probably not.
They usually do a Facebook Live, you know. They have several ways that they usually run it. So
So not many.
it'll definitely be a news item. So it'll be wherever it can be.
Okay.
Because people are anxious to know and everybody is concerned for sure. Okay, staff recognition.
So as per the board's request, we were asked to present a proposal on a hybrid of recognizing staff at school and at a virtual event. So I'll turn it over to Sean and he'll maybe walk you through the document that's in your package and kind of explain what he and Kim have put together.
Sure, thank you. So the background is before you as provided by Kim, as Charlie just mentioned. So it's split basically with 5 to 15 years service being recognized at the school level, and 20 to 35 year being recognized in this virtual event. Retirees from last year, the 1920 school year, and this year, 2020-21, will both be recognized at the virtual event. So gifts are be forwarded directly to the school. The virtual event still is planned for June the 11th. We're thinking that there'd be approximately a maximum of 75 people if everyone was to attend. I did mention retirees. I also would go back to bullet 3. And special recognitions. So it's master's degrees, it's Edmund Parr, it's excellence in Catholic education. Those will all take place at the virtual event. We've met already as a group and we're looking forward to it. It'll be virtually amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't have it in person this year, but.
But it's still recognizing our staff, which it's a wonderful thing to be doing. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
a quick question.
Go ahead, Trustee Efron.
So the 20 to 35 will be a separate virtual event, or you lumping up the retirees, the 20 at one big virtual event?
Yeah, so the 20 to 35 year service people plus the retirees from this is last year and this year,
Yeah.
they'll all be included at the virtual event.
One virtual event.
Yeah.
Is it one or separate?
No, one.
One.
So
Okay.
we didn't have an event last year, as you may recall.
Yeah.
So we're trying to recognize those with that greatest amount of service and our retirees. That's
Okay.
why I say it could be as many as 75 people, but we don't know for sure how many people from last year that weren't recognized last year will actually take the time to attend the event this year on June the 11th.
Okay.
Okay.
June.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, division calendars.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustees will recall in this current year's calendar, there was some direction from trustees to have 2 collaboration days as a division. That's proven to be somewhat problematic to try to organize that into next year's calendars. So Sean's been doing a lot of work on this already and kind of getting things lined up, and that's proving somewhat problematic. So I guess what we're finding as an administration, we're not sure that we're seeing the value of those proposed days. And we had some initial feedback from staff about those days. And it almost seems artificial in a lot of ways to try to force some collaboration on those days. We think that, you know, if there needs to be some collaboration, and I remember the conversation last year about why we should, you know, consider this. And one of the examples was, you know, if teacher in a small school is the only math teacher, let's give them some time to meet with another math teacher somewhere else in the division, and they could have some collaboration. I think we can do that if it's needed in other ways outside of that, rather than forcing the entire division to collaborate and try to find a partner somewhere when their partner may very well be in their school and in their grade, etc. So if it's okay with the board, I would like to have kind of no expectation of collaboration days. And then that will give Sean and I some direction to proceed with draft calendars for the board without those days, knowing that we don't have to worry about those days. It's very hard to put those calendars together. We're trying to get the operational days and the teaching days to be the same in the division, and because that's so hard with 4 different calendars across you know, our wards, it's proving problematic. So I'm looking for kind of, you know, the board's blessing to not worry about those collaboration days, and then Sean and I can go back to work on these.
Okay, trustees, comments? Trustee Tugwood, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm in favor of letting Charlie do that,
Okay,
John.
Trustee Afon?
I believe the intent was to give teachers the opportunity, considering the changes in curriculum and things that are in RTI. So if teachers are also saying it's not working well, then I wouldn't mind adjusting it. So then calendars can match well. And again, it's a difficult task, and I applaud you, Mr. McKinney, working with 4 different, you know, calendars to align it. Yeah, I would say I'm all for it.
Okay, Trustee Sirwa?
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Okay, Trustee Spidich?
Yeah, I'm in favor of having Sean and Charlie work on that. You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you have the go ahead. Thank you. 7.13, so risk assessment discussion. So did trustees have time to do the risk assessment ASBA module? Because really we need trustees to be able to do this before we have this discussion, I think. So you have to go on the ASBA Learning Center and do the modules. And I did send a link to Ed and Charlie, so they had the opportunity to see what we are looking at and if we wanted to proceed with a risk assessment, you know, for the division. So it's just some feedback, just wondering if anybody had time to do the modules. Trustee Tugwood?
I'm sorry, I haven't got to that yet.
Okay, that's fine.
But
Yeah. Trustee Effin or Trustee Sirwa?
I started, but I didn't finish it. But I just have a quick question. That's again in relation with everything we do as a board, and then we've just changed insurance here, and there's so much happening right now in this pandemic. I was thinking, you know, just food for thought. Do we put it and wait until the end of the year when we see where everything is aligning with our new insurance and everything that is happening to reassess? Because like you said, our world is changing. A couple of things are coming at us and they'll be coming very hard, right? Some of the things that they've aligned in there may be changing. That's just my thought.
Okay, Trustee Spidich, you may not have been aware of the discussion from the last.
No, I did not have a chance to read that.
Yeah, okay. So I would say we will just leave this on the action sheet till next month, and we'll look at it again. And I just asked trustees, I don't think we can really do anything with it unless we actually do the module so that we kind of understand what it's about. And it is just a good practice. You know, we are in different times. We need to be assessing our risk, and it's a good tool. And it also helps us with our insurance plan, I guess. You know, that we are doing risk assessment or risk mitigation. That was a big topic when the insurance plans just changed and went up so much. The whole risk mitigation thing was not being practiced very well for some school boards. Some are doing very well and some not so much. But these modules just very much inform trustees what their responsibility is in risk assessment for your school division. And we do oversee, you know, a large amount of resources and assets of the government, and we should be aware of where we can mitigate the risk of, you know, of those resources. So if trustees are okay with leaving this on the action sheet, and we'll just give everybody another month to do the modules and then come back to it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too.
Okay, 7.14, so MLA follow-up. Now, I just was wondering, we didn't send a letter, just kind of to recap the meeting, just thank our MLAs for attending. Again, it's a piece of relationship building. It's just recapping what our conversation was and recapping. I mean, I guess it's the hold harmless, the budgeting piece that was just so
long day.
Yeah. And just wondering if trustees would like a quick letter sent out to our MLAs, just, thanking them for meeting with us and staying in touch and remembering what our conversation was about. Trustee Serwa?
I think it would be a good idea, Michelle.
Okay.
Can't hurt.
I think in the past I've sent a written thank you card, but I just thought maybe this time would be a little bit more formal because we have serious situations that we're handling right now. And again, supporting them in, like all leaders, it's just a difficult time, just recognizing, the difficult situation that all leaders are in right now. So, okay, so we'll go forward with those letters. Trustee Tuckwood?
I was just going to say, I think it's a good idea to put this on and remind them, because I felt that they were in favor of that hold harmless. They seem to be, yes, that makes sense. That's kind of what was said by a couple of them. So I think it's a good idea to have this reminder sent out, especially before their meetings. So sooner the better. Yeah.
And just also thanking them for their advocating for education. And actually that, reminding, I mean, we talked about that Leadership Academy and how education is necessary for the future investment of the pandemic recovery.
Right.
So we could just reinforce those things and our willingness to continue to work with government in recovering.
Yeah, we were reminded in that meeting that we're partners and we're in this together for the betterment of education and for our province.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do that.
Mr. Bouchard has his hands up.
Sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
Well, I was just wondering, again, I'm hearing the message, thanks for thanking them for advocating and kind of restating that we're partners in this together. I'm a little worried about putting the hold harmless clause in there. Like we're almost at 3 weeks since the meeting. The decision's made.
Yeah.
On the hold harmless, like the budget's coming out next week.
No, I think it's just
I think if we put that in there.
Yeah, sorry. I think it was just recapping our discussion. We did discuss our capital priority and hold harmless and our concern for funding going forward. That's all. I just want to recap the conversation, and that's what it was.
Okay.
I'm getting some beautiful sunshine, which is nice. Do you have enough information, Charlie? Okay. Okay. So good news stories. So I did send around Grandma Rose story that was in Grandin Media. So just really nice, like Grandma Rose. She was just a wonderful, wonderful piece of Sacred Heart staff or volunteer staff there.
Since her nomination.
Sorry, go ahead, Trustee.
I said since her nomination, she's just hit the media.
I know, she's like a star. She's one of our stars. Yeah, it is wonderful to read about. And she's very excited to tell her story, like anyone that's interviewed her or she's written up a little bit. Her niece is actually a trustee for St. Albert Catholic. So anyhow, little bit in the family there. And I'd also like to recognize Father Michael McCaffrey, who passed away in January. He actually started the movement for Catholic education in Leduc. He was the parish priest here, and he started that. So just a wonderful legacy to his life as well. And just a shout out to Father Leduc School. For 4 years now, they've been doing a prayer book. And I didn't really know about this until the last time that I went to the school council meeting. They do a prayer book, and every student puts a prayer in this prayer book. And it's actually broken into 2 books now because it's so huge. So anyhow, just a shout out to their commitment to start a tradition that students do every year. So I just want to share those few items with you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Trustee Tugwood?
Well, I have some good news. We have a member of our parish, Beverly Hagan, and she spent 25 years as a special educator and school counselor. She has her master in education, and she has moved to Lacombe for her retirement, which is great. We have her as a reader, and she also does a little bit of private practice. But she has written a book, and I'll show you the book. Whoops, can you see it? Oh, this background.
Oh,
Let it on. But the book is called Oh Millie, So Silly. I'm just going to take the background off. So you can
nice.
And it's also illustrated
Yeah.
by a lady in Lacombe. And it's so great that she's in our parish. And she has agreed to do some virtual readings to any class that would like it. It's recommended for in ECS grade 1 to 2 or pre-ECS 2. It's a cute book, and it's very COVID friendly. All the pages are plastic, so it can be washed off. But I think we're so lucky to have this lady in our parish doing readings, and this is really good for literacy. It's got rhyming, it's got excellent vocabulary, and she's also sent along a page on literacy with it, mentioning the rhyming and the different sounds and all those kinds of things that teachers could use. So I just think this is great that somebody from our parish is doing this. So I've talked to Maria about it, and I think we're going to have a virtual reading to a couple classes, but she will do it for any of our schools. And it's really nice that she's part of our parish. So that's
very nice.
Good news.
Yeah, very nice. Any other comments or good news to share? Trustee Sirwa?
Donna, I was just going to say, so how could the other schools know about this? Like, for example, say if St. Andre wanted to participate.
I don't know. I guess we'd have to tell
I mean,
them. Yes. I don't know.
because you said she's willing to read to any school.
She's done a couple, she's done a couple for some Ontario schools, and but I don't know if she's done any here in Alberta, which would be great.
Yeah.
One thing about virtual, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I could send you the information on this story. I could send it to all the trustees, and if you want to share it with your principals, and I'll send a picture of the book. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's actually Catholic Social Services has a program where you can record yourself reading a book and sending it in, and you send it in, and it's for kids online that that might want to go to that resource and listen to somebody reading a book. I think that's where Sister Maria, I think that's how she kind of did that book, that we watched at Christmas time. I think kind of how that started. So anyhow, yeah, if trustees want to do that, read a book for kids online through Catholic Social Services, they do have that.
That's good.
Option.
I do it every night to my grandkids, but
I know I love reading books.
I love reading it. And they sit there and they love it. So
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. Any other comments or good news? Okay, well, I want to thank Sean McGinnis. We heard about your really retiring. So just want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for serving STAR. And I mean, you're going to be around for a bit yet, but we understand that it's public that you're moving on. So thank you very much. And we really appreciate your the good work that you do serving the trustees and the board and the school division. And it's really nice having you and your good sense of humor. So thank you.
It's been a pleasure. As you say, still another 6 months away. So
Yeah,
I'll continue to enjoy the opportunity for another 6 months. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Sean, yeah, from me to you, you saved the last for the best and you brought it to start. Thank you for everything that you've done. You've done for us.
Nicely put, Henry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the annual work plan. So just looking ahead to March. I don't think there's anything different in the month of March, except we are going to be looking at the communication timeline for elections. So that would be in March. The
Have
board
we had
calendar-
anything from Edwin Parr yet?
Pardon me?
The nominations for Edwin Parr?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And the board calendar is there. And the action sheet, if you want to go through the action sheet, Charlie.
So I guess I'm just maybe looking for some clarification on the first item, Madam Chair. So the trustees are interested in knowing how many 6-year-olds are requesting ECS. Knowing that if I bring that to the next board meeting, the funding framework will already, or the budget will be announced. If it's okay with trustees, I'll maybe just email you that update. Does that suffice?
Yeah.
Okay. The election communication plan, we'll just add a little section on there about social media edict for trustees. Thank you letter to the attendees of the groundbreaking will be signed by the chair and local trustee. Father Lacombe school food gift, I've called it. We'll arrange with the principal an appropriate time for the school to share in a food item to celebrate the groundbreaking or start of construction. Beaumont High School, speak with administration about the implications of a reconfiguration in high school. Bring the feedback and a proposed timeline for community consultation at the June board meeting. The City of Beaumont meeting, administration will reach out to the City of Beaumont about a letter that is suitable to Alberta Ed. Appointed trustee / committee will place on the March board meeting agenda for further discussion. Risk assessment place on the March agenda. MLA meeting, we'll send a letter to the MLAs thanking them for the meeting. And we'll thank them for advocating for education and committing to a shared partnership for the betterment of students in the future. And we'll restate the agenda items that were discussed. That's it.
Okay. Any correspondence I have shared with you through email, and it's most of all of it is listed on my chair report. So we are at closing prayer. So if you join me in closing prayer, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Grant me, O Lord, my God, a mind to know you, a heart to seek you, wisdom to find you, conduct pleasing to you, faithful perseverance in waiting for you, and a hope of finally embracing you. St. Thomas Aquinas, pray for us. Amen. Okay.
Yeah, thank you all. Stay warm.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
Have a good day. Yeah, be safe out there.
And Dan,
right.
your test be negative.
I'm hoping so. I'll know tomorrow.
Take care of yourself, Dan.
Oh,
Okay,
you
thanks.
did the test already, Dan?
No, tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Takes 24 hours. If you're positive, you know it.
Yeah.